I'm gonna show you how to cook this.
I think I just ran over wild turkey.
And a big tom at that.
I'm gonna show you how I cut them up.
That's at least a few recipes right there.
So chop chop, buddy. This is Roadkill wild turkey soup and there's bacon involved.
Oh my God, this is crazy. I think I just ran over wild turkey. Did I? I did.
And a big tom at that. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do in this circumstance, but he got smushed pretty good. He's got a lot of guts hanging out, but that might be an eater. I'm gonna call the M&R and find out if I can eat that thing, because if it's not too badly bruised up, I didn't get a turkey in the spring. That'd be a whole lot of turkey burgers right there, my friend. Beautiful.
Ah, shit, sorry, buddy. Like, the conditions are so bad, he just ran out of nowhere. You know, you can't, like, slam on the brakes and this kind of stuff. It's so greasy.
And down he went, man. So, I'm sorry about that, my little brother turkey, but you know what? We're gonna see if we can't make the best use of a bad situation, and I'm gonna try and throw him in the truck there and figure it out when I get home. But that's crazy. He's very messed up. In fact, I'm gonna have to see if I can even get anything off him. But I have this towel. I'm not really sort of equipped for this. If I put him upside down maybe in the truck, hopefully I don't get guts all over everything, and I get him home and figure out what I can do with that poor little guy. And I must say, looking at him, that is a decent sized tom.
And just to give you an idea what I'm driving in right now, it's improved a lot actually in the last like 10 minutes or so, but it was like near whiteout conditions. I just did not see that bird. Yeah, man, it was coming down.
All right, back at the old homestead here. I don't have light in here, but I gotta get him out of my truck quick because he is looking pretty freaking gnarly. I'm gonna hang him up somewhere. And guys, it's the next day. I just didn't have light to show him to you last night, but there's our buddy. He's been hanging out in my garage here overnight. Actually, he was hanging up in there. I just pulled him out to show you. And he's not in awesome shape. You can't tell from this angle. That looks like a pretty nice, clean bird, but prepare yourselves. When I turn this over, you can see his guts are all coming out the bottom, and I'm gonna have to deal with that.
But here's the thing, last night it was about minus 24 overnight, and I was so tired after a really, really long day that I didn't want to deal with the bird. He's now frozen completely solid. So I'm gonna have to wait now for probably 3 or 4 days where we have like daytime highs of minus 15 and nights of like minus 20, minus 25, minus 31 night, etc. before I can even start thinking about plucking, or I'm probably gonna skin this bird out. But I don't have a lot of options really, because he is frozen solid like a frickin' board.
Oh, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, this poor guy is frozen stiff as a pike, and that's a pretty decent tom, honestly, for this area. What do we got? Yeah, he's about 19 pounds. Now, by wild turkey standards, that's not a monster, but for our area, that's actually pretty good.
These birds work for a living up here. We're not in an agricultural area where they just get easy, free access to food and they balloon up like they do down south in the States and where it's warm all the time. These birds work for a living all year. They slog through feet and feet of snow, even just to scratch down and find a little bit to eat during the entire winter season, which is like 6 months of the year, right, in my neck of the woods. So a 19-pounder is a pretty good turkey. You'd think about shooting them in the spring, but my first immediate problem is just waiting for weather where we can unfreeze them because I didn't deal with it right away.
And just real quick, while we're on the subject of the size of this bird, I want to examine his beard here. He's, I'd call that a 7 to 8 inch beard right there. Okay, not a huge one again. I've certainly got much bigger ones on my mantle, but that's a mature bird. Thanks, buddy. I'm sorry that happened, but you know, we're going to make the best of a bad situation, and we're going to do you right, okay, bud? definitely the breast looks okay, and that's, you know, big deal on a turkey. And I'll definitely get these wings, I think. Yeah, they feel good. Not even, well, it's hard to tell if they're broken or not. It's so frozen, but look at those beautiful iridescent feathers on this guy. Am I right? Like, they are a pretty bird for all the guff they get. And people call them stupid and this, that, and the other. This is a very adaptable creature and a very pretty creature, man. Am I right? And yeah, I am sorry this happened to you, buddy.
All right, well, he's back hanging in the garage, all snug as a bug in a rug, and I guess we'll just see what the weather does and see if I can get him unthawed like this week. I'm not sure. It is so cold right now. It's nuts. Fast forward 6 weeks later, I shit you not, that bird has been hanging in the garage for 6 weeks. I skipped all of February because it was frozen rock solid, like concrete, man. I could not even fathom trying to pluck it or skin it or do anything. But now, as you can see, look, things are starting to melt. Look, I've got a little path up to my compost. My driveway is starting to melt. Half the snow on my, more than half, 3/4 or 4/5 of the snow on my roof is gone. And it's time finally to start thinking about dressing out that turkey because it's been frozen solid the whole time.
And there he is. Look at that. Frozen solid, looking exactly like the day I hung it. And let me just like show you. I've been going in almost every day and just feeling around and trying to see if anything was unfrozen that night that I got it back. Same video for you, but 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago for me, this thing froze solid overnight and stayed frozen for that entire time. So I've been going along almost every day, feeling it, and it's been rock solid. And I'm starting to feel now it's just unthawing like the old Thanksgiving turkey. And I'm going to get to processing it because finally I think I can. Let's get one last look at his beautiful iridescent feathers, which I hope to be able to show you a whole lot more in the spring turkey season, which is coming up soon. But what a pretty bird. Still really sorry that this happened, but I am going to do my darndest to get a sweet meal off this guy.
So guys, for you, I'm going to spare you the gory details of this. Here's the plan of attack. I'm going to see what's still good. It's been probably a couple of days that it even had the possibility of being not frozen. So I'm not worried about any bacterial contamination or anything, but I'm still going to check for it. And I don't think I'm even going to pluck this bird. I think I'm actually going to skin it, which I never do with turkeys. I always pluck them out and then I'll, get segmented into all the parts that I want. So first of all, I don't know if I can do full butchery on this thing. I don't know what's been smooshed when I hit it with the truck. I don't know what, if any contaminants have spread around when those guts got popped, etc. Again, sorry to be graphic, but I'm going to spare you the gory details.
So you can see I pulled my stainless steel table out away from the house. It's dripping. It's melting so much. It was soaked. I had to wash it off, etc. Because I am going to throw it on the time lapse for you because I know what's going to happen with the internet. They're going to be like, oh, you bought a turkey and you're trying to pull one over on us and it's fake. Oh, it's a scam. Internet stuff. That's not what's going to happen. I'm going to eat this wild turkey, whether you like it or not, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to put it on the time lapse so it's not too gross, but I'm going to butcher it right in front of you. Ha. Ha ha, there you go. Scam my ass. That's a roadkill wild turkey right there. And hey, check it out, not a bad haul. So you can see I kept the wings for future hunting applications. I can make decoys and do all kind of things with those. I don't know if you saw on the time lapse, but I've never skinned out a wing of a turkey without without taking the feathers off. I thought that was pretty funny, but I got them both. Very little meat. I'll probably go through and take the rest of that out, salt those down, and then I have usable wings for hunting applications in the future. Here's all my offcuts, unfortunately, including the neck, which was unfrozen first. I don't trust it after those 2 days of being unfrozen. It was very, very unfrozen. So I usually like to boil those down and make soup and stock out of the neck bones. But I'm not going to, in this case, just for food safety reasons, I'm not 100% sure about it. So I'm going to leave it. And then there's this poor guy. I got every usable bit off him, but unfortunately could not get my favorite cuts on a wild turkey, which are the thigh and the drumstick. Those are two delicious, succulent cuts on a wild turkey, but there was so much guts and innards kind of splashed down from the impact that I just didn't trust dealing with those at all. I didn't want to contaminate my knife. You'll notice on the time lapse, I avoided this area altogether after assessing it initially because I didn't want to take any contaminants from the lower part of the bird up into the good stuff, which had not a speck of anything gross on it. So unfortunately, yeah, it is what it is. I'd rather play it safe, lose my favorite cuts off it. You know, food safety is number one in self-sufficiency. When you're hunting, fishing, foraging, growing your own food, it's much better to like discard the odd little bit that might potentially make you sick and put you back. But look at all this stuff, man. That is really a nice haul. I cannot complain whatsoever. That's at least a few recipes right there. Maybe some kebabs. Maybe I'll make a soup. I'm definitely going to slow braise the wings that I got out. The tenders inside were still frozen. The best cut on the entire turkey. That beautiful white meat turkey tender from the inside. Completely frozen on the inside. I got both of them. Lost a little bit off that guy. He had a little bit of damage on one side. But tell me, this breast right here, you know, the prize of most turkey hunters, is an absolutely perfect and beautiful. That's a couple meals right there. And there you go. How you like that? About 5 pounds of meat that was safe. And, you know, I left a ton on the bird just to really be super liberal and cut wide around any bits that might not have been good. 5 pounds off of, what was it, an 18-pound bird? I can't remember what it was. It was so long ago, but it was a big bird. It's not an awesome haul, but hey, what does 5 pounds of turkey meat cost at the grocery store or whatever? You know, that's how you got to think about it in these situations. I didn't even have to put in the effort of hunting this bird. It just sort of happened by accident. And that's 5 pounds of delicious, organic, free-range, whatever buzzword you want to use, organic, clean meat that I'm going to rinse down with some cold water right now. Gonna run that water, get it nice and cold, and then I'm going to wash off all those little pin feathers and little bits of, you know, just outdoor detritus, whatever, little bits of leaves or whatever the hell was on there. Look at that Mondo breast. That's some breastises right there. I bet that's freaking, you know, a quarter of the weight right there or more. Just that one breast. If you've never eaten wild turkey or seen a turkey breast like in its natural form, you know, not all squared off and everything by a butcher in the store, that's what it looks like. All right. And wild ones are freaking delicious. Don't let anybody tell you different. Anybody who tells you wild turkey doesn't taste good, and I've even heard hunters say that, oh yeah, get a butterball, they taste better. Trust me, those guys have no idea what they're talking about and don't know how to cook them. Nice little tender. These tenders were still frozen, man. The little turkey tenders from the center. I didn't save any of the fat. You can render out turkey fat, and it actually can be pretty good. Certain parts of the body, the fat, not the sponge fat on a turkey, but other parts of the turkey can be really good rendered out or used as cooking fat, etc. It had been sitting now, for I think at least a couple days here of plus temperatures, like refrigerator temperatures. Don't get me wrong, where like it never went over 4 degrees in either of those days, but enough to thaw it. But also enough for me to think, you know, fat goes rancid really fast, and I wouldn't want to take that risk. But look at that meat inside. That's all looking pretty freaking sweetie, like a meaty treaty, if you ask me. I want to see these crazy wings that I grabbed. I freaking boned out these wings with the feathers still on them. I don't know if I showed you that or not, but that's was a first for me. A very inefficient way of doing it, by the way, but it was kind of fun to try. And I did recover a ton of meat off of there, so that's all awesome. These cuts are best slow braised. These are going to go in the slow cooker, maybe even right now, tonight. These are a great basis for a soup or a stew, which is what I might do with them. I love making turkey soup, but that's the most flavorful meat, is the dark meat on any bird, if you ask me. And I certainly don't want to waste those. So there's a wing looking pretty good. There's another wing, and you can see parts of this wing were actually smashed in the impact. So I had to cut pretty wide around this portion. There's actually some shoulder meat there that I got off the other one that I didn't get on this one. And I'm going to have to be really careful here because some of these bone fragments are very sharp, and I am going to cut myself if I'm not careful, but it won't matter once they go in the slow cooker. They look exactly how they look when you shoot a bird and you butcher it day of. Don't forget, these were frozen solid, just the way they would be in your deep freeze down in the basement. Just, it's so cold here in Canada, they were doing that in my garage, just hanging out in the air. Just finishing off those little bits. And you know what, I just decided we'll have some white meat in our soup as well, which is the only place I really like white meat, to be honest with you, is in a stew or soup or something. But that'll all go in with these, and that's a lot of meat for a little soup, man. For one, come on. All right, those breasts are off chilling in the fridge, and now those wings and all those little offcut bits are going into the old slow cook. Just gonna cover those over with some water. And I think I'm gonna cook these independently and then do a whole actual stew tomorrow.
I want to make sure they're really good and cooked through, and I'm going to actually cook them on a slightly higher temperature just out of an abundance of caution. I don't really need to do this. All this meat actually looks really, really super fresh, like it just came out of the freezer. But now I'm just going to throw that on high, and I'm going to be making the actual soup or stew or whatever the hell I'm doing with it. I haven't even thought it through. Tomorrow, I'm not even going to bother really, you know, spicing this or putting in any aromatics or vegetables or anything. I'm just going to put a bunch of salt in there, throw it on high, throw on the lid. I might add a little pepper or whatever, but I'm going to let that chug overnight and start thinking about what I want to do with this and get to that tomorrow. Now I'm just going to freeze that giant, large, perfect one. Vacuum seal it, tag it and bag it. Am I right? Look at that thing. Beautiful. That came from under my truck.
Fast forward to the next day, and this thing's been chugging for 24 hours. And you know what? It almost literally ran out of water because I ran it on high for a while. But look at this. I actually browned that turkey meat a little bit. And also yesterday, I'm just going to be honest with you, I stole a bunch out of there. I made some wraps, so I got an extra meal out of it as well. But there's a bunch of wing meat left. There's a little bit of that white meat left. And I'm going to make like a small-ish soup. You could obviously blow this up to however much you wanted to put in there. But this is what I got off them, minus those 2 wraps. And we'll make a little soup out of like whatever's left there. And I had a really good idea, so I'm gonna make a mirepoix, which is, you know, carrots, celery, and onions, the base of a lot of really delicious recipes, a lot of soups, but I'm gonna do that mirepoix. I'm actually gonna brown those vegetables in bacon grease, because I happen to have some bacon grease sitting on the stove. I've never done a mirepoix this way before, but I'm thinking like we're getting into like turkey club style soup territory without the actual bacon, but I'll get that smoky flavor out of the fat. And there you have the Holy Trinity, right? Carrots, celery, homegrown onions from Home Safe Seed. That's a whole project. Check out some of my other gardening videos if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But these were grown in last year's garden, and they're still hanging on months and months later. I think these were harvested in late October last year. It's now middle of March. Beautiful. And I've got some kind of weird-ish homegrown potatoes that had some problems that I cut. Actually, like, I think a week ago, and they're starting to get dried out and stuff. I gotta use them. This soup will rehydrate those perfectly, and I've got tons more, pounds and pounds more homegrown potatoes. Again, check out some of my gardening videos if you're interested in growing your own food, like I do for a lot of the dishes that you're gonna see on this channel. And there's the base of our entire soup. Boom, boom, boom. Already got the casty coming up to temp, and it's kind of exciting to try this with bacon fat, man. I've used butter primarily, or even olive oil, etc., but bacon fat, this really might be something.
Now, I want to brown these a little, but I don't want to brown them a lot. So, I got sort of a medium heat going here. We'll just see how that does. I'll check back in with you once I get it to the point where I want it to be. But tell me that doesn't already look like something you want to eat. Right there. Little salt and pepper at every step, of course. Right? Taste as you go along. And if you're new here and you've never heard me say that before, what I mean is that I try to think of it as every ingredient that goes in needs a certain amount of salt and pepper as a baseline for seasoning. And if you do that at every step, like every ingredient, every part of the recipe that you're putting together, if you just add a little pinch of salt and pepper on it, you're probably going to be exactly right when it's done. So that's just words to live by, man. Salt and pepper at every step. Now over here, I've got a little problem. I decided to brown this turkey meat in there by leaving it on a high heat and sort of letting the water evaporate out. But now I want to make sure I get all the bones and all the little bits out of there. I need to add a little water back in and loosen that up because it might be a little stuck on the bottom there. We're gonna find that out right now with my trusty tongs. Okay, yeah, it is a little bit stuck in there, so I'm just gonna like move that around a bit, and more water obviously gonna go into this. I want to make sure I get all those nice brown bits up off the bottom, etc. That's all just pure flavor, man. And check out those giant wing bones off a turkey. Hello, look at those. But that's not the only bones in there. There'll be little bits of sinewy stuff, and there were some broken bones on a couple of those wings. So what I might do actually, oh yeah, see there's a little wing bone right there, a broken one at that. I might actually pull out a big strainer and strain this through. And then that gives me a better idea how much meat is in this. And don't forget, I've got that white meat back. I can add some white meat into this. Okay, let's get that turning over. Ooh, it's smelling so good with that bacon fat. Why have I never tried this before? And I just wanted to show you the
beautiful color of that turkey broth, you know, that's been going like almost 24 hours, honestly, with that little bit of browning, because I just strained all that. I just want to make sure there were no bones in it. And I think there's enough meat for our little soup here. This is just like a single serving. It's not single serving. I'll eat a few nice bowls of soup out of there by the time I'm done. But, you know, I don't need 1 million pounds of turkey in there. Even though I stole those 2 little wraps out of there, I think we got enough. And what the hell, while I'm waiting for that mirepoix to finish, might as well get a jump on these homegrown pommes de terres. Put those guys in, and you know what? That does look like just the right amount. That little bit that I had left over from my potato surgery. Some of those potatoes, actually, I had a little problem down in the basement with some kind of pest gnawing on the ends of them, so I cut off all the ends and like cut wide, etc. Wash those up good, and I'm gonna recover all those little bad boys. Hey, we're doing roadkill turkey. We might as well do like rodent-eaten potato. Okay, that's what's going on in here. All right, now have a look at this. I just jacked up the temp just a little bit to get a little brown on there, and I hope you can see that. Let me pick some up and show you just how nice and brown that's starting to look. Okay, here, tell you what, I'll zoom it in. See, we got some little brown edges, not too much. Everything's starting to be translucent and see-through, and it's all looking just about right to get jammed into the slow cooker there with that turkey and potato, and we're well on our way towards a delicious homemade wild roadkill turkey soup. Now I just brought the crock pot over the inside of it, you know. It's kind of nice. I love this design of these things where you can just pull that out and bang, I can just dump all of that beautiful bacon fat freaking mirepoix. That's a first right there, man. This could be the most epic turkey soup of my life. Into there. And then I can carry that back over before it gets hot. Boom. And now from here, we're just talking about seasoning. You can use whatever you like. Go look up a recipe on the internet or do it the way your mom does with Old Bay or whatever. I'm going to do an Old Bay-ish type thing with, obviously, Old Bay leaf right there, some homegrown sage, some homegrown thyme, obviously salt and pep, and that's it, man. That's all I need. And then at the very end, I'm going to put a little pat of butter in there. You will not believe how good this turkey soup is. So, bay leaf and a little bit of homegrown sage and... don't need a ton. A little bit of homegrown thyme. Just being careful not to put the wood in. You can't really see, but I'm just getting all the leaves off. Okay? And if I do drop any of those little bits of wood, little woody stems in there, I'm just going to pick them out right now, and then I don't have to crunch into them later. And now the final power move. Yeah, about a tablespoon of butter. It's a little shy of a tablespoon. I got to get some more out of the fridge. I'll put some at the end. But you wouldn't believe just that one little tablespoon how much freaking creamy, buttery goodness it puts into a little soup like that. Woo! All right, so now basically what we're waiting for is the time to cook through those potatoes. And this is done. Like, the meat's pre-cooked. Everything else, the mirepoix is done. I mean, you know, we want all those flavors to kind of get to know each other, you know, and just kind of socialize. But once those potatoes are cooked, that will have occurred. All those herbs will have soaked into everything. Should be good to go. So I'm thinking roughly like 45 minutes to an hour. All right, friends, I would say over an hour has gone by, and I'm really, really looking forward to tasting this because it's starting to smell really, really freaking good. I got to make a last check for some salt and pep. I'm going to do that right now. Just do a little taste in there. And those potatoes are looking pretty cooked through. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're good to go. Let's do that last taste check. And I'm going to put a little tiny bit of fresh parsley in there. Just did a little taste check. Everything is just about spot on. I'm going to add a little bit more black pepper. But first, a little bit of fresh parsley. That always goes a long way on a soup. Am I right? A couple cracks. Great.
And friends, this roadkill wild turkey bacon fat soup was among the best I've ever made. No joke. And it all started with an unfortunate incident with a beautiful wild animal that most people would have just ignored. So I hope you enjoyed the recipe. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Please subscribe if you're new here and do me a solid. Go snoop around the channel.
Oh, my sweet lord, I'm on my second bowl, just FYI. And I'm probably going to eat another one. That is so good. It's crazy.